All right. Well, yes, everyone, welcome to I think this is the first official meeting of Rebel Game Devs since we changed our name. So
Let's
welcome,
go.
everyone. Thanks for coming. Um, we don't have much business this week, so I think we're just going to jump into it. The asset shuffle that we do, we're pushing that until next week because we have a guest speaker this one. So everyone has an extra week to spend polishing their asset shuffles or starting them in my case. But all
Be
right.
like that.
Yeah. So next week we'll do that. But this week, Dr. Sahl is here with us. He is the faculty advisor for this group, but he's also a professor here on campus, and he's going to talk a little bit about gambling and the class that he teaches.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Richard, for the intro. And I am your faculty advisor, but I don't think you see me around much because Richard does, and the other leaders of this group do such a good job running it. But my name is Dan Sahl, and I run a pretty unique program that is of interest to your group in particular called the Gaming Innovation class at UNLV. Just curious, how many of you, you can just type in chat, I guess, how many of you have heard of the Gaming Innovation class? I guess maybe because of Richard, a lot of you might have heard of it in the past. So the Gaming Innovation program, it's a very unique class, right? UNLV can't claim to have a lot of unique things as a university, but this is one of them, right? Because we are located here in Las Vegas. Las Vegas, if you were to rank, cities, and the percentage of the workforce that's dedicated to game development and design, and the amount of money or the economic impact of game design and development, Las Vegas would rank pretty high among those cities. Now, you probably don't think that, right? Because we don't have the big video game studios, but what we do have in this city are the big casino game developers, IGT, Aristocrat, Scientific Games. I don't know. Are those companies familiar to you guys?
A bit, yeah.
That's just to name a few. There's like 5 or 6 others. A recent addition to the sort of Nevada gaming family is DraftKings, which opened up a casino design studio and are actually building a casino design studio in Southwest Las Vegas right now. Game developers, but of course the games that we're building in this city are casino games, right? We are the home for casino game development, design, and manufacturing, and it employs thousands of people. And I know that, if you talk to young university creative types like yourselves, casino game, if you're thinking about being a game designer, casino game doesn't pop first into your head. And I understand that. First of all, if you are old enough to play casino games, you're probably not. It probably hasn't been for very long for most of you. Some of you probably aren't old enough to legally go into a casino and play these games. Though if you've been living in Vegas for a long time, you've probably been surrounded by them. And it's just, a lot of casino games really aren't targeted towards your age group necessarily. When you think about slots, that's really more of a middle age to older age kind of product. Table games trend a little younger. And then we have these emerging new categories that I'm going to talk about in a bit. As game developers, right, and as the director of the Center for Gaming Innovation, I would encourage you to think about learn the opportunities that my program offers and UNLV offers to learn how to build and develop these games. And there are 2 reasons for this. Three reasons why I really think if you're interested in game development, even if casino games have never really gotten you excited as a developer in the past, you might want to think about taking advantage of the opportunity to learn to build these games. The first one is you're here, they're here, right? The companies that build these games are located in the city, and you're here in the city as a student. But also more importantly, and I know this, I can say this as the director of my center and someone who gets to talk to lots of different companies, and directors and vice presidents at these different companies. There is more demand for talented, creative, skillful game developers and programmers and artists and mathematicians than there is supply. Right? I can never fill all the requests I have for interns, for jobs, and not just internships, but actual jobs, right? People that I could recommend for a job posting. I don't have enough students with the background through my program, which is crazy because I have a lot of students who go through my program. There is a huge demand for people who have programming talent, people who have math and art design talent, people who are creative, who also understand how games in the casino field work. So that's one reason. The second reason I would throw out there is that casino games are wildly profitable, insanely profitable, which is surprising because they can also be extremely simple to build once you know how to build them, right? When you think about, I don't know, I heard you guys talking about Valorant, right? How many people do you think it took to build Valorant?
Probably
Hundreds.
a lot.
Hundreds, right? Hundreds. You're right. And I'm sure Valorant is, it's a growing, thriving game. By the way, are any of you familiar with the esports team 100 Thieves?
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard 100 Thieves.
Yeah, they won a recent Valorant tournament. Anyways, I'm chummy with the coach of that team, and he's been wanting to do stuff with me for a while in gaming innovation. Just a little name throwing out there because I don't have that many when it comes to video games. When you think about Valorant, though, hundreds and hundreds of people developing those games, and Valorant, I can't imagine how much revenue Valorant brings in. I don't know, right? A slot, right? A popular slot, or maybe something a little more innovative, but still like a video-style gambling game that you might find on a slot machine in a casino or on a mobile device, which is expanding rapidly. The American mobile gaming market, casino gaming market, is expanding rapidly. That game might take 5 people to build, right? The creator, the mathematician, the artist, the programmer, and then you have some other people who are going to certify it and make sure and test the math and verify the security of the game. I guarantee you that if you were to take the 10 most popular slot titles out there today globally, or even let's just say in North America, coming out of Vegas studios, each one of those independently, I'm sure generate more revenue or profit for either the company that's making them or the casino than Valorant does, right? And I'm not saying that to put down Valorant. I'm just saying they're extremely profitable. A handful of people who are creative can build a game that, it's stunning how much money these things worth. I'm going to give you an example. Are any of you familiar with Buffalo? Buffalo slots? Let me see if I can pull up. I'm going to pull it up. I'll show the screen. I'll pull up the YouTube of Buffalo slots. Why? So you're not just listening to me.
Yeah, I've seen
Look at
Buffalo slots.
I just typed in Buffalo into YouTube, and literally the first thing they pulled up was a Buffalo slot and not an actual Buffalo. All right.
Wow. The slot's bigger than the animal it's based off of.
All right. How do I share my screen? There we go. All right. Can you see the slot? The video of the slot here? Everyone?
Yes, I can.
All right. So you're gonna recognize if you've been in a Las Vegas casino, even walking through it, you recognize the slot, right? Everybody?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's probably, for whatever reason, Buffalo is just one of those games that people love, right? It's been around for like at least 15 years, and it's a monster. People have an affinity to it. It has some interesting game mechanics, but a lot of it is just, look at the graphics. Those graphics are pretty basic, right? The sounds are fun, but not like over the top. It's 2D, not 3D. There's no 3D animation here, or if there is, it's very subtle, right? This is a ridiculously popular game. It's owned by a company called Aristocrat. Aristocrat licensed it or bought it from a smaller sub studio. I'm not sure what the name of that studio, but I'm sure they've made good money from this invention. It's one of the most popular slots of all time. All right. All right, hold on. Come on. There's probably been 30 versions of Buffalo. Can you guys hear me still?
Yes.
Am I still there? All right. There's probably been 30 versions of Buffalo played developed in the last 10 years. We had a slot manager from the Bellagio come and talk to, not my class, but a different class. And he was talking about the new Buffalo games they were putting in. Do you know how much MGM was paying the manufacturer of this slot brand for their newest version per day per machine? I want to take a guess. You don't just, because with slots, you're not just buying a slot. You're not just buying a slot, plopping it down on the floor. You're not just buying a slot and putting it on your app and it's a one-time payment. It's a rev share. It could be a revenue share. It could be a daily lease fee. This was a daily lease fee. How much do you think? And I won't say MGM. Let's just say Random Casino, because I'm not entirely sure it was MGM, but it was one of the big players. How much do you think they were paying per day per machine? Anyone want to take a guess?
$100.
Richard. Okay, it wasn't quite $100.
Add some zeros.
No.
Although
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if that number got there, but it was more than 50. More than 50 per day per machine. That means a single unit, right? A single unit on a floor. I should be able to do this in my head, but I can't. It's 50. You're looking at least $18,000 per unit, and of course there are lots of these units on the floor.
And
So
that's per day.
well, that would be per year for one. Yeah, so it's over
$100
$50 per day per unit. So if you have 10
Wow.
units on the floor, that's $500 a day, right? Every day, and that could be for years. So these things can be, and that's just one group of casinos. And think of all the casinos that are out there. There are tens of thousands of Buffalo games out there in casinos and online all over the world. So that's the second reason, right? Casino games are extremely profitable. They're extremely easy to monetize. If we're thinking about it from necessarily the individual inventor's perspective, but if we're thinking about it from the perspective of the company, right? And the third thing again, the third thing why I think if you're a game developer or you're interested in game development, you should think about slots. And Richard can back me up on this because he's been working with me in my little studio that I have at the Center for Gaming Innovation we've been working together for a while, Richard and I. You as an individual can invent, create, and develop a game, right? And in fact, if you were to work for one of these big studios or even one of the smaller studios, that you're expected to come up with your own innovative concept or your own spin on a slot, and it's your project, right? And if that creation of yours becomes wildly successful for the company, while you might just see a bonus if you're an employee of the company, your reputation will grow, right? And your value as a developer will be recognized. We're a very small little community, the casino game manufacturing, the casino game developers, we know who the good inventors are, right? Their names get whispered. So there's an opportunity, I'd say very early on, if you're a game developer, to take on your own project, to create your own ideas and visions for games. Which leads me to the last part of why I think casino game design is something you should consider if you're interested in game development. And that's the opportunities that my program offers, which I want to talk about for a few minutes. The first opportunity my program offers is, we're going to teach you how to build these games. We understand how these games work. We understand, we have a pretty good sense of where the future of these games are heading. We bring mentors in addition to myself, to help you, take creative ideas and turn them into something viable and unique. We're very good at taking talented, creative people, particularly people with programming and math and game development skills like yourselves, and helping you turn those talents towards casino gaming. The other benefit to this is that there are pathways for you as inventors to turn inventions into money, right, for you. And there's a couple of ways that we do that. The gold standard, the absolute gold standard, if you're going to be if you're going to work in my program or take my class and work through my program, is to come up with a great idea, file a patent, we develop a math model for the game, we develop a really engaging little demo, which usually isn't that much work because a good casino game is often a simple casino concept, and you then bring that package, patent, concept, math, to a company and you sell it. I don't want to fill unrealistic expectations, right? The gold standard, if you've got a patent for a game, is to license it to a company. And, imagine if you held the patent for Buffalo, which, by the way, Buffalo is not patentable in and of itself, but let's ignore that for a second. Let's say you held a patent for a game as popular as Buffalo, and, you personally got $5 a day per machine, right? That would be the gold standard. But that's an extremely, extremely difficult thing to achieve. That being said, it is not uncommon in my program for games and concepts and patents that have been invented by students to sell for $100,000, $50,000, $30,000, right? And sometimes there's continuing revenue, and sometimes that's it. They just buy it and that's it. It's still not bad for a semester's work, if I do say so myself. It's not a lot of classes where you can get all of this knowledge and experience, and you can also potentially walk away with an idea that you could sell and put on your resume, I sold this idea to this company. I don't know, Richard, what would you say? A good summary of what the opportunities are in gaming innovation?
Yeah, definitely. I think that nails it.
The other thing that gaming innovation has to offer, particularly to a group like yours in this club, is we recently formed a collaboration with DraftKings, which is very big in the online space. They were a fantasy sports giant, and they've emerged, and they've really tried to integrate themselves into casino gaming. They dominate for mobile and online gambling in North America, and they're valued at $10 billion as a company. They are growing their casino gaming side. They've opened a studio in Las Vegas. They hired one of my former students to be one of their sort of high up innovators, and we've negotiated some patent sales to them. But they've also provided me with some funding to create something really cool called the DraftKings Gaming Innovation Studio at UNLV. And DraftKings doesn't own the studio. None of the content that comes out of it automatically belongs to them. They still have to compete with every other company if they want to purchase IP or concepts that come out of the program. But it does allow me to hire students with programming and art and math talents to work sort of in a mini studio at UNLV on campus. We have a really big space available to us. And the idea is to give you guidance and experience developing some of the cool concepts that come out of the class. It might be your own concept. It might be another student's concept that really needs a demo and some simulation to make it more commercial, to improve its commercialization potential. So for you guys, I would hope this would interest you because it's a job, right? It's a student. So we hire students as student workers. I don't want to pretend that the pay is huge relative to your skill, but I think the experience and the opportunity to really get some experience, develop your own products, see those products sold or licensed to another company, and have something really cool in your resume is very valuable. So that's the other benefit we have. We have the studio. I need to hire talented, creative people to program games for me, to program demos so I can help move them along and get them sold. And in the process, hopefully, help you guys develop your skills, your interest in casino game development, and develop those skills for your own future career aspirations. I think the last thing I'll say just to close this up is that you would be shocked how few people in all forms of, just people in gaming altogether, how few people actually understand how our games work, how casino games work, and the logic behind casino games. So, even if your goal as someone who's like interested in being a game developer in the future, maybe you don't like casino gaming or you don't want to work in that space, I'd say you would have a huge advantage competitively, at least understanding the fundamentals behind how our games work and how we build them and what makes them appealing to players. So I think there's a lot of positives, and I always appreciate the chance to talk to this group, because my best students have come from this club in the past, and I know they're going to come from this club in the future. I'm free to take any questions you have or answer any questions. If you have any at this point, I'd encourage them. No questions. I don't know if that's because I was very thorough or you're just not interested.
I do have a question about Buffalo.
Go ahead.
What's so different? Like, to me as a kind of a layperson, when it comes to slot machines, Buffalo looks like a slot machine, like any other. So what makes Buffalo so popular and so powerful in the industry?
So nobody entirely knows, right? If you talk to different people, they have different reasons. So what are some of the things that make Buffalo exciting? Well, one of the things about Buffalo is that it doesn't have pay lines. It has pay lines, but it has a lot of pay lines. What it means is, if you can imagine, you've got four rows, and 5 columns. The number of lines is, I believe, 4 to the power of 5. Number of pay lines, right? In other words, every possible connection you can have between the 4 columns across the 4 rows across 5 columns. So you don't really need to keep. It's very easy to figure out if you've got a winner or not. A lot of Buffalo has really great sound design and music design. Let's see if we can hear some of it. So one of the key, there's a couple of key features of Buffalo. Buffalo is like the best paying symbol. When you get a lot of, sometimes it'll happen, you just get a lot of buffaloes that line up. And when a lot of buffaloes line up, I don't know if we can hear it here, the machine will scream out, "Buffalo!" If you've been in a casino, you've heard it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo, people love that. I don't know why, right? It's just the sound design's really good. The graphics, while really plain and cheesy, are not so cheesy that they turn people off, right? In fact, I think they appeal to people. There's one other reason why Buffalo is, I think, a popular game. So here's an example of this guy won big with Buffaloes right here, right? This guy had a big Buffalo win with this one right here. Also, sometimes the wilds can turn into multipliers. Now, that's nothing new. Right, there's that Buffalo sound. That's nothing new, but Buffalo was one of the first to do like wilds that turn into multipliers the way they do it. The other thing is Buffalo. Some people say Buffalo just has really good math, and what I mean by math is the balance between how frequently you win and how much you win, right? For some reason it's got a relatively high hit frequency, and hit frequency just means how frequently you win something back. It doesn't mean you win your total amount back. It just means you win something back. It looks like someone's betting $60 on this game. If you take a look at the bottom, it looks like this is a $60 game that this person's playing. So, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Oh yeah, he won $3,000 for that $60 bet. Anyways. The bonus round, Buffalo didn't invent the bonus round. What the bonus round is, it could be free spins, it could be some other game. What happens is you get 3 specific symbols that appear in the reel. They're called bonus symbols. As soon as those 3 symbols appear, the player gets really excited because that means they're going to the bonus round. Buffalo, the bonus round is free spins. And people like free spins because, hey, they're free spins. You don't have to pay for them, and you win whatever you win. And usually the game is configured in such a way that when you get free spins, they're good spins, right? It's like the game is in your favor now. versus the core game, which is not in your favor, generally speaking. But the other thing that Buffalo did that was, if you were to ask me why is Buffalo so clever, it takes 3 symbols to trigger free spins in Buffalo. But once you're in the free spins, it only takes 2 symbols to win more free spins. Does that make sense? So you got to hit 3 symbols to trigger the free spins. But once you're in the free spins, as long as you get 2 symbols, you're going to get more free spins. So again, it's just kind of selling to players that idea that, the advantage is you have the advantage. Right now you're taking advantage. Now you're in control, or you've got the opportunity. And it helps build anticipation. It helps build excitement for the player. But I don't know. If Buffalo were to, Buffalo. I think the other interesting thing to consider with Buffalo is that Buffalo is it's 15 years old at least, right? And so it was the first to do some of these things I'm talking about. And it wasn't the first, but it was the first to do them really well. It was the first to combine them all together into one gaming experience. And you know what? People have memories, right? People form attachments and bonds. One thing that makes slot play very different, or really all gambling, very different from other kinds of games is, the level of risk is really high and the potential reward is very high too. This person bet $60, triggered free spins, and so far they're up to $2,900 and they still have 2 more free spins left. Let's see what happens, right? Once we pass the celebration. Oh, and now he's up to 5,000 with one spin left. Let's see what we get on his last spin. Nah, nothing exciting. But still, a $60 bet turned into $5,200, right? There's not a lot of gaming experiences that can produce that kind of outcome. At the same time, though, you'll notice that the player's credit bank is $1,400. So while they got lucky and won $5,200, it was also very possible that they could have lost all of this $1,500 that they put into the pot, right? That they came to play with. So you've got intense emotions, and psychological experiences, and Buffalo was just really good at sort of creating, I think, anticipation, excitement, positive emotional experiences when playing. And so people go back to games that make them feel good, right? People go back to games that they enjoy, especially in casino gaming.
No, I think you bring up a good point with the anticipation, the reveal, and that excitement. Game design is game design. It doesn't matter if it's in the gambling industry or in a Zelda game, because even when Link approaches a treasure chest and is going to open it, there's a slow creep up, and then there's a big sound, and there's this big reveal as he holds up the item he got. So it's the same principles. It's just applied to a different game.
Yeah, but it's in some ways it's very easy to understand with casino gaming, right? And I think that's why I would say anyone who's interested in game development, you should take my class, right? Because there just aren't that many people who are game developers who understand how casino games work. And let me tell you something, casino games, you're not going to believe me when I say this, and this may not be true. This is not true for 2021. It's not true for COVID. Before COVID, I can tell you that casino games made more money than video games globally. I don't know if that's still true with COVID and all the casinos being closed and everyone sitting at home playing games. Probably not true for the most recent 12 to 18 month period. But before that, casino games still made more money than video games. And video games are huge, as you well know.
That might explain why popular game companies, Electronic Arts, pushing the what do they call it recently? Surprise mechanics.
Yeah, surprise mechanics. Loot boxes. You're absolutely right.
Boxes.
You're absolutely right. The video game industry takes from casino gaming all the time because casino gaming, it's the entertainment value we offer players. The psychological experience, it's very impactful. It's very memorable. It's very meaningful. It can be abused. Don't kid yourself, right? It can be abused in video game design. for sure. And even in casino game design, to some extent, we need to be aware of this when we design it. Because problem gaming is not a good thing, right? With companies like EA, the real issue they face is, people get kind of mad when 11-year-olds spend $50 on loot boxes, and they're like, "Isn't that gambling?" And
Well,
it can get companies in trouble.
Well, they're also angry because they say like, yeah, I paid like $60 on this game. Why there are microtransactions in this game that I paid $60 for? Majority of people
That's
are angry about that.
That's a great point. And something I'll say, and I mean this, and this is something that I think is fair to say. If you're playing a slot like Buffalo that I have up right now, the outcomes when you bet, okay, $60, that's kind of crazy. Let's say you bet $2 per spin, right? The outcomes range from complete loss of your $2 to a partial win to maybe winning $4 to winning $20 to winning maybe $800 or $1,200, right? We don't, the machine selects the outcome that you're going to receive completely randomly. It does not consider anything about you or your past behavior. Every spin is independently random. Do you think that loot boxes are independently random?
No.
Well, it is. Well, it depends on how it's written. It could be completely random. Some say like if you haven't purchased it, there's a chance that you might get one like legendary item because you don't spend that much money on microtransaction. It all depends on how the system exactly works.
To try to hook you in.
If it's coded by EA,
Yeah,
it's
right.
not random.
It's if they're trying to hook you in, they like I said, it has its own system and algorithms on because before you even click the open icon, the game already tells you what you're giving, but it just covers it and shows you to the last minute technically.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. There's definitely more manipulation, I think, among a lot of those companies and their loot boxes and the randomness of it, because their goal is just to get you to buy more loot boxes. Casino, so there's a lot of value in what we do. And I know probably a lot of you are UNLV students, probably a lot of you are in computer science or some engineering program. We're working on trying to get engineering to give you some credit for taking my class, because if you're in computer science and you take my class, you're almost certainly going to develop your own game and your own math model as part of that class. I can't make any guarantees though, right? We're working on it, but I can't make any guarantees. But even if it becomes a class that doesn't fully fit with what you with your program, I would say it really is a class that will give you a perspective and opportunities to become a game designer that I think few classes, certainly at UNLV or even anywhere else at any other university, could do. And again, the opportunity there is that there's lots of people who go into video game design, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. I mean, video games are fun and cool and fun to build, but there's so few people who get into or learn this area of game design, and yet it is so valuable, and it is so valuable, and there is such a demand for people who know how to build those games and innovate in that space.
As a point of interest, in case anyone was interested, I looked it up. As of last year, the video game industry alone, not gambling games, not anything like that, just video games, $160 billion revenue last year, expected to top $210 billion by next year.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. That's probably going to 220. That's probably going to beat casino gambling. Again, gambling's had a very bad year, while video games have had a
Yeah.
And so I'm not surprised that shift is happening, which kind of leads me to the last thing I want to talk about before I'm going to wrap this up, which is, again, there's a new frontier that's opening up called call it what you want: competitive cash gaming, skill-based gaming, competitive esports gaming. Some of you might be familiar with the app Skills, Skillz, right? And so these are interesting because they're emerging. They seem to have not fallen into any issues legally. And so the way those games work is you've got two people playing, or you've got multiple people playing in a tournament, and they put real cash down, right? And it's a bit like poker, or like a tournament like a Scrabble tournament you might enter, right? Everybody puts their money in, an administrative fee is taken out, and then whoever performs the best wins the pot. A lot of people think of that as gambling, right? Like a lot of people think of two people at a pool hall. Let me give an example. Two people at a pool hall, they both put $50 down on a game. Winner of the game gets the other person's $50, right? A lot of people think that's gambling. And it's certainly, there's an element of gambling in there, but what really matters when you're talking about what is or isn't gambling is not what people think, but what the law says. And many, many states, as well as many countries, laws prohibiting gambling focus or emphasize the element of chance, right? The random event that plays a significant role in determining the outcome. Like, for example, in poker, 52 randomly shuffled cards, what cards get dealt out? Or in a game like craps, what number did the two dice land on? It's unpredictable, it's random. However, if you remove or significantly minimize the random element or the role randomness plays in determining the outcome, a lot of states don't consider that gambling, even if you've got two people playing for $100 pot or bigger. So that we've seen this sort of explosion of what we would call the skill gaming companies. Again, with this company Skills dominating. You want to talk about opportunities to innovate. I would say that assuming that we don't see significant legal challenges from states as this grows, I think there's a lot of potential there, right? But the games that are being developed in that space are kind of terrible, in my opinion. Because, again, it's difficult to figure out how to build a game where two people compete against each other, and chance doesn't play a role in anything, right? When you think about a lot of the games you like to play, chance will be there a little bit, sometimes a lot. But I think that there's a whole new world of games that can be developed, using this model. And again, they're highly profitable games. Anytime you have people playing against each other for cash, you wind up with far more revenue per daily active player than you would in a more freemium style game. So lots of potential in that space too, I think.
Dr. Sahl, I have a question, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So earlier you said Buffalo itself wasn't patentable. Why is that?
So what is a patent? That's a good question. What is a patent? So in casino gaming, what we file, you can file a patent for an apparatus. In slots, you can file a patent for a new mechanic, like a new way for symbols or configuration of symbols on a grid, or for player actions or interactions with the machine to produce a range of winning and losing outcomes. Buffalo didn't introduce any new mechanics. What I mean by that is the ways that Buffalo determines who wins or who doesn't win, or how they present winning outcomes, that is all that already existed before. And even though they may have combined new things together, they didn't do it in a way that could have given them a patent. So a patent requires something that no one's ever seen before. Let me hold on. If I have this, I might be able to give you an example.
This is what you can't patent, like jumping. Like Mario has jumping, but every game has jumping.
Yeah.
You can't patent something that's unique. It has to be unique.
Let me see if I can show you a pending patent we have right now. If I can find the darn, I'm so disorganized sometimes that I can't find my, where is that folder? Should be right here on the main screen. Just bear with me 1 second here. Give me 30 seconds. If I can't find it, we'll move on.
No, but going back to
I don't
loot
know why.
boxes, it's pretty interesting that like EA keeps like a profile on you, and like based on like your patterns and your purchase history and your play style, they have like algorithms to kind of determine how much you're likely to spend.
Well,
Not
one
just EA. I mean, most of the freemium games do it.
one important thing to
Yeah,
consider,
absolutely.
I think, is with loot boxes, there is a good reason they exist. Once games are sold their first time, that's most of the revenue that company or like the publisher will make from it. And if players want more content in the future, like DLC, there has to be funding for it to exist somehow, whether it's microtransactions through cosmetics or like buying actual in-game items of some sort.
Well, here's another thing. It has an impact on the gameplay too. Now, what I'm about to say might not be a good opinion. Take a look at GTA 5, for example. You got like shark cards, and everything in that game is so expensive that you have to like spend at least like 12 hours to purchase a pixel vehicle, which costs like which probably costs like 8 million. So in order to grind that 8 million, it takes like around like I don't know, like 4 or 5 hours to do two heists, along with the unstabilized peer-to-peer connection, the players cooperation and all that. That will also surely slow down, which brings the player to get frustrated and finally spending real money on shark cards in order to achieve what they want.
But I mean, there are game-breaking glitches, like money glitches, to like help a player gain money. But then there are also specific groups that assist others in making money in the game. So there are ways to kind of bypass what was kind of made to make more money from the game. But mostly people who have money to buy those shark cards, like I'm pretty sure they're called whales. They're the ones that mostly make up a lot of the profit for video game companies that have those things like that. So, in a way, most of the money that companies make comes from whales because regular people aren't that drawn in, or like
They don't have time to grind all the way to achieve what they want.
Right, so the game just dies out for them eventually, and they're not going to bother spending time or money on the game because it's eventually. What's up?
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
I was finishing already. Yeah.
So it's safe to say that microtransactions help everybody because it gives the people who want to collect stuff something to collect, and people who are willing to spend money something meaningful to get, and then the people who aren't willing to spend the money get the benefit of DLC.
Well, yeah, but there's also but there are some games which it gives complete advantages to those who don't pay. In some games, not all games, mind you. So it's not really a win-win situation, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Well, that's the issue with what I call credit card warriors. So you have two kinds of microtransactions. If it's purely cosmetic and has no fundamental gameplay difference, whether or not I've spent that money or not, that's fine. But when it's an advantage tactically or in a gameplay setting, then yeah, you have credit card warriors or whales that can just throw all the money they want in it. Congratulations, you're not any better at the game, but you have more equipment than I do. So there's two kinds of games in that respect.
Right. And
power creep.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't think loot boxes or microtransactions are going to go away anytime soon, unless, EA is already doing this. They've adopted kind of this season pass thing, where they get people to buy in for like the EA Play thing. Like I forget, that's what it's called, and you get all the games you want, but eventually you're not going to be playing most of them, and some games don't even cost anything to maintain.
Right.
And you're not using it all the time. So it's either...
Alright, well, yeah. I hate to interrupt, but
I think we're getting
Dr. Sahl, did you find that folder here?
Yeah.
Did you find that folder you're looking for?
Yeah, I did find the file. I will say I think it's a great discussion. I as a game developer, I look at it as it's about one thing about video games, right? Whether you're talking about simple apps, complex apps, all the wide range of games that are out there, big studios, small studios, independent studios, it's competitive as heck, right? Video games are insanely competitive. It's funny, now, media and TV and movies have gotten equally as competitive because of all these streaming channels that are popping up. Incredible competition for users, which is good for users because all this content is available at an affordable price. So freemiums, loot boxes, subscriptions, they're all the script. I'm not surprised. I mean, I did not know about the EA subscription model, but I'm not entirely surprised because, all as you said, some of these games cost nothing to maintain, right? And they're there and they're available to play. It's all about just capturing those dollars, right? And keeping, and if you're a big company like EA, whatever it takes to keep that loyalty and keep those dollars sort of locked up with you as opposed to them going somewhere else. What do you think the most expensive, if you're a game developer, what do you think your most expensive cost is?
Advertising?
User acquisition. User acquisition. It's unless you're talking about like Nintendo, right? And the Super Mario, unless you're talking about like a legacy title, it's user acquisition. It's just costs a fortune. And then, so the freemium model, of course, is designed to sort of make user acquisition cheaper, but it comes at a cost of it comes from the fact that now the value per user is significantly diminished. So you guys might be familiar that there's a lot of real money online casinos in Europe. Are you guys familiar with that? It's a reality, right? Do you know what their user acquisition costs are to get new users to play for real money on those sites?
No.
They approach $100 a user.
Nope.
$100. That includes advertising, buying users from other sites, but also, and this is something that this is something that the cash-based games have to deal with that the non-cash don't. Rebates, right? Free play and all that other stuff. That if you're a site and you don't offer free play rebates to players or bonus, deposit $100 will give you $25 bonus cash to play with. If you don't do that, they're going to go somewhere else. And in Europe, they have dozens and dozens of these online real money gambling sites, and people just shop around for the best deals. So it gets very expensive very fast. So user acquisition, I always say, is the most monstrous challenge if you're trying to get a game out there. If people were to ask me, if you want to be a successful indie game developer, and you were like, what do I need to do to succeed? I'd be like, well, first you need a really good game, something great, solid, tested. Then you also need a famous friend to tweet about it, right? So if you're friends with JLo, that could really help if she'll tweet about your game. All right, you think I'm joking, but I'm not entirely joking. In fact, I've talked to some people who are trying. And these are not nothing companies; they're startups. They have real money behind them. And I'm like, if you want to grow quickly, my advice to them is find an influencer, right? The right influencer to get their people behind your game. As opposed to trying to buy them with banners or buying them from some other company. It never works. All right, I got one last thing to show you, and this has gone longer than I thought, but that's good. This has been a really good discussion. I just want to show you one thing quickly, because there was a really good question of, well, what is patentable? What makes something patentable? So can you all see this little rinky-dink looking slot called Coin Connect?
Yes.
Yep. Put up yet? Coin Connect is a game that actually I wound up inventing. I invented it in the car, actually, when I was driving. It just popped in my head. I filed a patent, so I have a patent pending. So I don't have a patent for this yet. I have a patent pending. I think it has a shot. What makes this patentable is that I came up with a mechanic, and the reason I'm showing this to you is that it's my IP. I can show it to whoever I want, right? I would be more discreet with other students' IP. This is my IP. I actually paid some students just like you to program and build this game for me. So I just have a video of it rather than a playable. So we'll just play this video. So you see just what happened? You had one half of a coin aligned with the second half of a coin, and so the 6 and the 0 merged for a 60-cent payout. Let's watch again. Right. See how the 9 lined up with the double zeros for 900 credits? That's the innovation. That's what I patented. Right. That's a new way for someone who likes slots to win money and have that winning outcome presented to them. That, I think, has a good shot of being a patent. That makes sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, there's no, so that just doesn't exist right now, and I think I've got a buyer for the concept. I won't go into the details, but that's it's actually an innovation of something that already exists, but I won't go into it. But that just doesn't exist, and so I'm hoping that when if a company buys it and builds it and tests it and launches it, that people will find this new way to sort of win money or lose money or have near misses, right? Which is when you almost win money but you don't. That they'll find this appealing and engaging, and that they'll play it a lot. Anyways, that is patentable because it's new and it's tied to the mechanic of the game. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. Really enjoyed the conversation with you guys. Some great questions. I know we went a little longer than we were supposed to. If you are at all interested in the class, Richard, will you post my email to this group or give them all my email?
Yeah.
Please give them my email. Please feel free to email me. I will, because you're from this very important club and I am, technically your faculty advisor, I will, we can set up a one-on-one meeting to talk about the class and see if it works for you. I'm happy to give you like 20 minutes, right, or half an hour on a video chat to talk and answer your questions one-on-one and really get into the class. So I hope you'll consider it. If you know anyone else who's in game development at UNLV, or even, look, I have non-UNLV people who take this class all the time. If you know people outside of UNLV who you think would be good for this class, I will, game developers are very valuable to me. And I'm always happy to talk to you and see what we can come up with.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Sahl, thank you so much for taking time to come and speak to the club. I really appreciate you doing that for us.
Always a pleasure. Thanks everyone for your attention and time. I'm gonna bounce. I'll let you guys wrap up.
For sure.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Later. All right, guys. I'll post Dr. Sahl's email address down at the bottom. What did you guys think? Just overall.
Pretty insightful, I think.
Yeah.
I know, like, once before at my previous job, I met up with a casino slot machine engineer, and he mentioned something similar to what Dr. Sahl said.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where you have to start with something basic and kind of work up from it and develop it over time. That's usually what will be successful.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, I really appreciate learning about like how patents work, because before I'm like, I kind of like a vague idea, but now I just realized that the concrete basis for even getting a patent is innovation. So that's really good to know.
Yeah. The class is interesting because you touch a lot. You touch a little on a lot. So like you learn a little bit about patent law, but just a little bit. Like you don't actually have to read any patents or anything, but you learn about patents, and you learn about business, and you learn about innovation, and sure, it's about gambling, but I think all the concepts carry over to just about anything else. And while you're in Las Vegas, this is what gets made here, and I'm sure you all have seen the joke where the company's advertising for an intro developer, and you got to have 10 years of experience in order to become a junior programmer. It might not be a bad idea to get some of those early years of experience at a game studio here in town. and just food for thought.
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, anyways, I think it's a good place to end it for the day.
Yep.
Thanks everyone for coming. We will next week we'll do another asset shuffle. Will be kind of back to normal. That Dr. Sahl is the last guest speaker for a few months actually. So we'll be back to basics. Well, just because the semester's ending, and I'm not entirely sure what our plans for the summer are. Typically, attendance like kind of drops as people's attention wanes from school. So we'll probably still continue meetings, but they won't be as populated.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll have more come fall semester.
Sounds
Yes,
good. Yeah. All right. Well,
Cool.
see you guys later.
Good luck on your finals.
Same to you.
Good luck on finals.
See you guys.
See you later.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
See ya.
Thank you.